Hey, I'm Jason Sauer. Some of you know me, some of you don't. And in this episode, I'm going to be as real as I can what it means to be an artist in 2026. You're going to hear about how I got ghosted on $12,000 and blocked on a sculpture after I already bought the hotel room that night. Oh my goodness. Seriously, this podcast is about what it means to have a grind as a professional artist at the highest of levels. I got a sculpture in the Hamptons, and what does that mean? You think I made it, but the work has just begun. Hey yo, it's Jason Sauer with the Cash on the Hood podcast. Thank you so much for checking in. Of course, like, share, and subscribe. That's my man Brian there at Cinema Psychos podcast tells me to tell you all the time. He's coming up on 400 episodes. Shout out to Brian back on the decks there making this podcast work. So y'all ain't heard from me in a while because I got some trials and tribulations, and there's some stuff I want to talk about, and I feel a little more comfortable about it. We're going to go through my court case. We're going to go through, your guys already know about the stolen paintings, but we'll also talk about, what it's like to sell a sculpture and have it pulled out from underneath you, and what that's like in the hustle and the grind of just what it means to be Jason Sauer as an artist in this world. How do I chase down these art fairs? How am I in the Hamptons but still, having to sell my station wagon? How is this working out for Jason Sauer? So, Brian tells me I need to be a little more selfish about the story. So, here we go. We're right here in my hut that I've had to go through a court case for, but we won't get to that one yet. But here we are in the hut. We got the Cash on the Hood podcast back up, and we're talking about what it means to have the grind. A number of years ago when we started this podcast, we were living a really big high. I was selling sculptures every single time I went out. I'm 2 cycles now without a sculpture being sold, and that's a tough one because, like a golfer, I only make 10% of my money and 90% of my efforts fail, And it's tough to do that. I made sure I set my life up to handle this effort. I made sure, I was blessed to, I was able to pay for my house at a young age because I bought, a very cheap house and worked my way. And, I knew that I was going to be an artist, and I knew that I was going to be highs and lows of what it means to be the economics of an artist. And I knew that if my art career was an emergency to me, I couldn't have some harder bills. So I just took a chance in life, moved where I could at the absolute cheapest level, and just worked my ass off, and just kept writing grants and doing what I could to become an artist. And how I managed to get to Miami was I was DJing a wedding in Florida, and I couldn't afford an Uber, and I wanted to walk to my buddy's house, which I saw was 2 miles away. And I was like, I'll just walk to his house from this oceanside resort that I DJ'd a wedding at. And as I was walking there, I walked past this art gallery that had like marble, facade, and I was like, this place must be special. So I went inside there. It was called Art Blend, and I just made myself known that I'm an artist and I'm here to be seen. And they're like, okay, we see you guys all the time. But I just kept at it. And, when I went on tour, I decided that I needed to be on the road, that being in an art gallery wasn't going to get it done here in Pittsburgh, that I needed to get the derby car on the trailer and just drive around the world. And I went to Fort Lauderdale, and I went to an art district there. But while I was there, I kept going to Miami and visiting this art gallery. And eventually, he gave me a shot, which was basically buying your way in. So if you want to achieve where I'm at, you got to have a hell of a checkbook. It sucks. So the Miami thing is, my first time in was $4,000 to show one painting 3 foot wide by 5 foot tall. $4,000. And I bought in because I didn't know any different. And that price hasn't changed. I haven't come in less than $4,000. I just get better at spending $8,000 in Miami. All right, so here's the math. And on my art gallery in Garfield, man, 2,000 people come through every year. And, they're there for the poet, the band. It's not necessarily art. There was the free beer on First Friday. And I knew that I wasn't making the dent in the art world that I wanted to make, Pardon me. Chickens might get in. They're out here. This used to be their chicken coop. Different story. So I knew if I wanted to get into the art world, I had to really suffer. I had to sell my building. I had to get in a very tiny house. I had to get in a car that wasn't in a payment. I started my very first year in a 2005 CRV that was paid for, that had that 3x5 painting that barely fits. I went to Barks Art Gallery and we measured that CRV and we made the frame fit perfectly inside the back of that car. And I made the painting fit because I knew at $4,000 I was going to get every inch I could on that wall. And I stood next to that painting for 4 days, just myself alone with a painting, just learning and watching. And it's when I realized that the wealth that I'm competing against is so enormous. That's just these booths. There's 7 of these art fairs in Miami. And these booths are $4,000, $25,000, $200,000, $2 million. How much money do you want to spend to advertise in Miami? And you're realizing that you're competing against all these people, and you're competing against the world, because it's the people who are coming to this art show are from Russia, China, they're Iranian sheiks, they're Kanye West. It's what I couldn't find in Pittsburgh. So let's imagine you had to pay rent in Pittsburgh. I know I'm all over the place, but let me just give you the number here, and then we'll get it dialed down. If you got to pay $1,000 a month in Pittsburgh, $12,000 to only get 2,000 people, that's a lot of money. What are you going to do? How are you going to generate income to pay that bill with only 2,000 people who are of your peers? How do you not give your peers fatigue? How do you not over-invite them? How do you make this work? Oh my God, man. So I've wrestled with this for 20 years. Like, how do I just grind it out as an artist? And Brian gave me like pep talk about how to enter into this for you guys. And that's my motivation, is in the end, is if I'm trying to get my artwork out there, and in the end, if I have to pay for it, if I have to own a bricks and mortar, if I have to do these things, well, what value am I getting? And that's why I go to Miami, is because this one particular show I gets 35 to 40,000 people, and it's on target. These people, half, 60, 70% of them are there to buy and look at art. So at $12,000, I'm risking an entire year on Penn Avenue in Pittsburgh for 4 days in Miami, but I'm getting whatever that number is. Let's say 20,000. I'm getting 1,000% greater. And this is where I found my success, is in that gamble. This is where I've sold my sculptures. This is where I met a person who owns their own mountain in Vail, who has a beautiful mansion in Philadelphia where all these sculptures go to. So it can be done, but boy, is it a risk. It's a hard risk, and it's the dragon we're chasing. I don't know why I continue to chase it. It's just a dream I have to be in competition with Andy Warhol, with Rembrandt, with Diego Rivera. How do I get in their lexicon? I wasn't supposed to be in this world. I wasn't supposed to do this. So am I leaving a legacy? Is it a crashed car? So how do you compete? Because when you enter into this world of art, you enter so naively, thinking that Andy Warhol was just easy to do. That's just you go to college, that's your Andy Warhol. You have women escorting you to all your art openings, and you're making a big deal, and the magazine's fawn all over you. It can be that, and it is that for artists. You know what I mean? I see artists who make that happen. But I've watched it come close to me a few times. There's a few times where I'm like, this is it. We've done it. We're recession proof. And we have come crashing to the ground here with, my entire collection being stolen. And we did good in Miami. We sold everything, but the biggest sculpture I sold has its own story of why is it still in my yard? You know what I mean? I ended up bringing that thing home in an ice storm and with a heavy heart. Brian, do I tell that story or do we move on to another? All right, Brian says we'll finish up with this story. All right, I'm doing good. You're at the art opening. You're there all 4 days. My buddy's there. Sean's with me. We're at Riding High. We have sold all of our stuff except for the last 2 giant sculptures, and that's what you ride it on, is you make small stuff to make the booth fee, but you try for glory and art news fame, on the big sculptures. And boom, like we're on the last day. A lady comes out and buys my sculpture. Sean is like, yo, she wants to buy your sculpture. Come over here. So for 2 hours, we go back and forth, and she tells me how she's a closer for the timeshare business. And I'm like, well, guess what? I just lowered my price by $2,000. Let's get this job done. She's like, oh my God, that was easy. She's like, I'll take your sculpture. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to gift it to my mom. She's in Port San Lucie, right up 2 hours up the road. And you're going to drop it off and install the sculpture. And I'm going to buy the accompanying wall sculpture that goes with it. And it's my mom's birthday gift. She loves the Virgin Mary. The sculpture is so beautiful. So we take pictures. We shake hands. We go so far as I cancel my hotel room, reschedule a new hotel room in the same town as her mom. That way when I'm done and loaded up from Art Basel, Miami, and I'm making my drive to Pittsburgh, we can stop. Sean and I can install this sculpture. And, I'm back. I'm back in the game. So that way it would only mean I only lost one cycle in this career of mine. No big deal. We're back in the game. So I'm making these deals. I'm getting it done. You know what I mean? But in the art game, she didn't pay me in full. She said she's going to pay me in full when I get there. And boy, is it difficult, because in the professional world of art, here's something you guys, you're sitting in your seats, you're yelling at me, Sauer. But in this world of professional, at the very top of the art world where I consider myself art galleries give you a 3-month grace period. You get 90 days before you have to make payment. So it's known that you can buy a piece of artwork, get it installed, and pay 90 days. Much like the restaurant business, where you have a 90-day window on your food. These giant art galleries. So never. I've been burned. So this is a good one. Sean sells a sculpture. We go up to penthouse number 1. Sean's winning the game. So Sean and I, we did it. We sold out our booth. We are chest bumping. We did it. We risked our life. We worked all summer long, worked extra shifts. Sean drives truck. I mow grass. I do all the extra shifts to pay these booths. We did it. We made it to penthouse number 1 with Sean's sculpture. All right. I'm great. We load up my sculpture, load up the derby car. We move up the highway. We get our room. We get to the house. No one's answering the door. I'm sweat's already rolling down me because I've already figured out how are we going to get this sculpture off her. It's a big one. I'm sorry, Sean. One of the heaviest ones I've ever made. I promised I would never make him a heavy one again, and then I made one more heavy one. And I'm like, I'm sorry, buddy. It has a 67 Ford tailgate on it that opens. It's beautiful. Oh, what a great sculpture. One of my best ever. No one's answering the door. She's not answering the phone. Nothing's happening. I've already talked to all the family members. They already approved it. This sale was approved. Like, I was on FaceTime with all of them. I've already got the money. I've already went ahead and called my mechanic and said, yo, get the box truck ready. We're coming back to Miami next year with the box truck. I now have the money to keep moving my plans forward in this trajectory of my art career. So if I've already put $4 or $5 grand worth of like, go ahead and get it done. And my word is my word, man. So now I'm sitting on this debt. Not only did I lose my sculpture, but I'm sitting on a debt as soon as I get home that I thought I had so I can keep moving my art world forward. It is a hard drive. And so on top of that drive, we now are going through a blizzard that we just went through in Pennsylvania, but we had to go through the mountains of West Virginia, and we had my sculpture on an open trailer, which is why we're getting a box truck. That way we don't have to haul our precious sculptures on this trailer, but our trailer would have been empty because we sold all of our sculptures. It's frustrating, man. So it was a hard ride coming home, and I called Brian. I'm like, Brian, I think we're ready for the podcast. We're going to talk about what it means to be a struggling artist with a TV show called Art of Destruction on Deck that has been in development for 2-3 years now, man. And I love it that you guys listen to this one. This episode's done. Like, share, subscribe. Cash on the Hood. My man Brian from Cinema Psychos podcast and Libsyn podcast. Without you guys, I am nothing. Shout out to my wife, family, and Demolition Derby family. Thank you guys so much. Go team.